Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Heliostar Metals, chatting with the president and CEO Charles Funk. We're going to be focusing a bit more on the La Colorada Project and the drilling results from a stockpile, the Truckshop Stockpile, as well as get an update on how that drill program is going at Paula. So, Charles, La Colorada. This is a mine that restarted production at the beginning of this year from care and maintenance. I believe you are already producing from a stockpile at the La Colorada mine, but now we most recently on June 24th had some drill results from this truck shop stockpile. Before we get into these results, can you just explain to my audience the history of these stockpiles from the past mining and what the significance is or could be for these stockpiles for the company?
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, happy Canada Day for yesterday. I think the stockpiles are incredible. They're almost something from nothing in the sense that we break down the Colorado future in three phases. The stockpiles, which is low capex cash flow for us, the pit expansions, and then the future potentially underground and exploration targets, the resources being open to depth. That gives us a lot of upside. So we'll start focusing on the stockpiles, and the reason I call them something for nothing, these were waste dumps. They were put there in predominantly the 90s when gold was below $250 an ounce. And this material was considered to be uneconomic, that just had to be paid to be moved to get out of the way of the gold mineralization. You fast forward ahead and you're at multiples of, over 10x increase in the gold price. And the fact that this material was next to the veins means there's a little bit of gold in it. And so today's gold prices, as we've demonstrated, we're mining the Junkyard, making really good money out of that. And there was two more, the truck shop slightly smaller, and then El Dorado, which we're about to start drilling, and we should have numbers from late July, early August. Material that was assumed to be waste that we paid nothing for in the acquisition, that's already made more cash flow than we paid for the assets for. And more importantly, I think can build up the cash that allows us to do the pit expansions. So the first one is a great opportunity that we initially didn't fully understand, but it's actually been a bit of a secret weapon for us at the Colorado this year.
So, what work needs to go into at least this stockpile, the truck shop stockpile that we just had the results from? What more do you need to do to potentially start generating some revenue from it?
Yeah, so the turnaround's going to be very quick. So we'll do a resource in it internally. We'll do some metallurgy on it internally. We got pretty good confidence. It's the same material coming that's in the junkyard. So that's more of a, from my perspective, just confirming that it performs the same as the stuff that is going on the leach pad. And then we'll start putting it on the leach pad probably in the back half of this year. It's demonstrably making some pretty nice cash flow for us. Internal resource, metallurgy, and then we'll start putting it through the crusher.
So, Charles, looking at these results, I guess average grade we can say looks to be maybe between zero point 0.3, zero point 0.4 grams per ton gold. I'm just looking at the news release there. How do we compare this to that junkyard stockpile then? What grade is being mined from that if we're to somehow extrapolate out some sort of economics here?
Yeah, I think it's got two advantages. One, so we're mining zero point 0.2 gram material at the junkyard. These are not very high grades, but it's crushed and stacked already there for you. So your costs are so much lower than bringing it out of a pit. So it's higher grade than what we're making good money on from the junkyard. It's also half the distance to the crusher. So we have to pay less to move it, and it's got more gold in it. And we're looking forward to having it come online.
So, how big is this stockpile? Can we put a number on it of how many tons it is or anything else to just get a handle on what the potential is?
Yeah, so the truck shop's about 1.5 million tons. Don't think all of it will go through. You can see we've split it into a zone A and zone B. Zone A looks more likely to make it through. Zone B's got some more recent lower grade material on top. So right now we're just going to do some engineering work to work out what's the best way, what's the maximum amount of money that we can make out of it. And it's probably mining zone A and leaving some of zone B behind. So yeah, it's not, it's about a third of the size of the Junkyard. It's not as big as Junkyard, and El Dorado's bigger again. So it's the smallest of the three opportunities. But being closest to the crushing circuit is why we drilled it before El Dorado. We think it and Junkyard get mined, and then El Dorado mostly next year. We build up our cash balance, and we use that to expand the Veta Madre and Creston pits. And the nice thing is we're going to have a technical report coming out very shortly on those pit expansions. I think for your listeners and shareholders, when you see the capital required for those pit expansions, just think about the cash flow for this year and next year from the stockpiles to potentially fund all or possibly part of those pit expansions.
So, Charles, how variable is this stockpile now that you have some drill holes in it? And even visually, can you tell? Can you see a difference between these different zones or even within the zones? Give us more insights here.
Yeah, there's a lovely graphic on the press release showing you the assays down hole. So you can see it is actually pretty consistent. If you want a broad analogy, grey rock is bad, red rock is good. When you're looking at it shovel by shovel on the pads, the grey rock is further away and doesn't have the oxidized sulfides that contain the gold, whereas that more friable, darker red looking material is more attractive. In this case, it's consistent. We're effectively mining with a zero cutoff grade. We're taking all of the Junkyard stockpile when we mine. When we designate an area of the truck shop, we'll do it all. But broadly speaking, you can see higher and lower grade based on how much oxidized material after gold and sulfides.
So then what other news could we get out of just this stockpile to see it move forward? It sounds like you're doing an internal resource model, so that probably won't come to market. What can we look for to understand that this stockpile could start generating some revenue for you?
Yeah, honestly, I think you're just going to see it get mined. By the end of the year, I think we'll have put it through, given the potential to be higher grade, given the proximity. Once we have confidence in it, we'll probably move the fleet from Junkyard to truck shop, mine it, and then go back to Junkyard. We always just prioritize what makes the most money in the shortest period of time. The bigger one to watch from a news event perspective is the El Dorado drilling. That's a much bigger stockpile. We think there's probably 12 months of production if we show good grades, if we show good economics. So honestly, truck shop will probably just get mined, and you'll probably see it on the balance sheet before you see any material updates on truck shop. But watch for El Dorado, because that's going to be a lovely step to probably be, in my view, most of next year's mining could come from the El Dorado stockpile. So it'll be nice to drill that off and demonstrate the average grades on that.
So the news release says that the drill will be moving to the El Dorado stockpile and then to drill some step outs on some recent high grade vein intercepts. So what's the timing for all of this?
Yeah, so if you remember, the drilling was mostly focused on the pits for the beginning of the year. That's for the technical report that's coming out imminently. Then once that was done, we started drilling the stockpiles. We're actually drilling some holes in the leach pad. We're doing some internal experimenting and things as well. So focus on stockpiles and then El Dorado over the next couple of months. And then once we do that, we'll then look to go to the bigger picture growth. I was at the project a couple of weeks ago, really excited by the exploration potential, the growth potential. So stockpile drilling for a few months, and then late in Q3, they look for us to start to look for the bigger picture. And the reason we've done that is just cold hard focus on cash, focus on what generates cash flow immediately, what gives us the pathway to the lowest capital cost of restarting the pits. We've demonstrated that 6.5 year mine life with the study we put out in January. We think this study will further improve those economics. And then later this year, then we can look for the growth beyond that. It truly surprises me for a mine that's been operated as long as El Dorado, how much upside from an exploration perspective there is. There's color anomalies that haven't been walked over. There's soil anomalies above the cutoff grade of the pits that hasn't been drilled. We're working up quite an attractive exploration program, but the stockpile drilling is step one, then exploration beyond that.
So with such a focus on cash flow, maintaining good cash balance, can you give us an update on how the company is sitting cash-wise?
Yeah, so we finished the first quarter of this year with 27 million and no debt. We won't quite make as much money in Q1, we don't anticipate, because San Augustine produces a bit less each month on the residual leaching until we restart late this year. So I would expect that we'll be adding to our cash balance when we do our quarterly update. Today's the day, so if nothing goes wrong today, that quarter should track to continue to add to our cash balance. We're getting significant margin with these gold prices. We're adding to our balance sheet whilst being able to undertake some pretty material drill programs across the company.
Charles, final update then. Paula, you have that 15,000-meter program there. How's that progressing? What can you tell us?
Yeah, lovely to see the rigs turning on the first, large program we've ever done at Paula. As I said, we've sort of kept the focus corporately on La Colorada and probably will for the next few weeks. Then I think we can start to talk about some of the Paula more drill results, systematic drilling, a much bigger exploration program. It's nice to be able to pivot from talking about drilling on one project to drilling on the other without, long pauses or breaks for financings. We're just getting on with business with Paula, and we'll start to see over the summer the fruits of those labours.
All right, Charles. Great update. Thank you very much for taking us through that most recent news release. Again, Charles Funk, President and CEO of Heliostar Metals. Send me any questions you have for Charles, and I'll get him to address those on future calls. Charles, thanks for the update. Touch base with me when there's some more news out, please.
Will do. Thanks, Corey.